Gotta move the camera, not the fabric. There we go. Good morning, everybody. I'm on a few minutes earlier than I had said I'd be on, but I'm going to just talk for a minute. What you see here are the flowers I've received so far. This one here just came in. It's from Pam, Ginger Cat Mom. I have not put her name on the back, and I just put a little post-it note. This was Ann's. These two are from Joyce. This was mine. This is Kathy's, and this is Janet Nash. So I'm just waiting for Beth and Goldie's to get here. But we can start our background. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the flowers off. Oh, another thing. These ones right here are actually from the dollar store. You know, the ones you buy. I'll find it eventually. Let's see. They cost $1.25. I'll pull those out too. And you get a bunch on a little stick, a stem, and you can even use the leaves on your project. We're going to just stitch some of these for the background. And see, there's the pink ones. The smaller the flower, the more flowers you get per stem. But I wanted to have some of these larger ones. And they're a lot more purple and pink than what they look like on the screen. But I could put the flowers away in here because we're not going to work with them today. But see, all the handmade flowers will go toward the front of the project. And all this other is going to be kind of in the background. But we need a background to work on. And I've got the green for stems and leaves. And if you have not watched Marian's construction of her coat, she's adding all this embroidered and applique work to her coat now. And yesterday's video, I'll put a link to it after I get done this morning. She showed how to do different leaves. And she would create like her own applique with the fusible web on the back that would lock her embroidery. So basically she would draw a leaf on here, and then she would stitch it with her embroidery floss and then put the fusible web on the back and then cut the leaf out around the edge, avoiding her stitching. And then she could just iron it in place on here and then just tack it on with matching colored thread or a clear thread onto her project. So I'll put a link to her video because I thought it was very informative. And these flowers, we'll put these away too because we'll probably not get to these today, but I'll keep the green out because I just want to make like a collage-y background. I might keep these fake flowers out just in case we get to it. We'll see how far we get. More than anything, I wanted to show how I'm going to cut this here. I still don't have the tool to get rid of the autofocus, and I'm sorry about that. And but I'll get with Scott next weekend, and we'll work it out. The color of this is more like a grass green than what's showing on the screen. And let's see if the chat is working. And I did not put it on subscriber only this morning. So if you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Becky. My channel is Aunt Beck's Creations. And I do all sorts of things on this channel. I sometimes cook on here, sometimes garden, craft, sew, art. Just, you never know. Scott and my adventures and traveling. So sometimes you'll get traveling videos too. I decided on a 20 by 24 rectangle for my actual floral piece to be worked on. And yes, we're going to have a cat step in every once in a while. So this is a pretty wide piece, and I only have so much space. What I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it edge to edge and try to make sure I'm on grain here. So what I do is, hang on. This is what I do, and it's probably not the correct way to do it. I just get it so that it's laying smooth and there's no kind of wrinkle in it. And I'm going to have to move the cat. Honey, I got to have the counter. So I got that. Now I'm going to take the folded edge and the edge where I just matched the edges up and match them up the same way. And I kind of just hold it in the air with my finger in between and see if the threads that go across will lay smooth in a nice loop. I don't know if that makes sense or not. And then when I lay it down, I'm just going to make sure that the folded edge, the first fold and the two edges, selvage edges, are along each other. And then I'll just smooth it out. This one's going to be hard to cut. I have a 12.5-inch ruler, and what I think I will do is I want to make sure this is really smooth and that there's no bubble or hink in it or whatever. I'm going to pick a line on here and lay it along this fold, and then I'll just take my rotary cutter I'm not going all the way to the edge because I want this to be straight. And then I'm just going to shove this up and keep this edge smooth here. I really wish I had a longer ruler handy, just so that it goes to the other edge up there, and we'll finish cutting that. This will give me a straight edge, I hope. Hopefully I've gone over far enough to get it all. All right. I'm going to peek and see if I've got. I want to make sure that this is straight all the way across. So I'm just peeking. See how that curved in? I've got to come over farther. So I got to do that whole thing again. I should have checked that, because you don't want one edge to come in. You want a smooth edge. So I'm going to do it again. And this time I'm going to take a big old inch off from it. In fact, I could line this up with a line on my cutting mat. And then line this up with that 5-inch mark. Never pull your rotary cutter backwards. Always push it forward and stop and lift and pick it up. You don't want to do a sawing motion. All right. So now I can come up here and just make sure that the ruler is on that same line. There we go. And I might save that strip for a stem or something. All right, now I'm going to line this up with the beginning edge over here. I've got to move my keyboard a little bit. So I'll line this edge up with the edge of this big ruler, like so. And then I'm going to come over to where it says 20 inches here. Yeah, right here's the 20-inch on my mat here. And then I can just 20 inches is here. So I'm lining this edge of the ruler up with the mark on my ruler, on my mat, I mean, and then this I'm going to line up with the fold of the fabric. And I'm going to do that again. It's time for a new blade, I think. Let's see if I've cut it through. I have. So then I'll slide my ruler up and match the edge at the top up here. This is really hard to show, with that same 20-inch line. There to there. Okay, and we'll come in here and finish cutting this up this way. Let's see, did I get it? Yep. All right. So I have this left to play with for another day. So that gets my 20-inch measurement. All right. And I'm going to unfold this and get it down to a single this way. And then I'm going to fold it edge to edge, cut edge to cut edge. And it'll make like a really long tube this way. Okay. I'm not real worried about having a smooth edge where the selvage is. I'm just going to leave the selvage alone and line it up with the edge of my ruler. The cut edges that I just cut are facing each other right here. And I've got this big long tube, and I just want to make sure I've got it long enough and that everything is even down the length of it. And we're going to do the same thing as we did to get to the 20 inches, but this time we're going to cut at the 24 inches. And that looks pretty good. Need to turn you guys over this way. So the fold is along my 4-inch line here, and here's 24 here. Morning, Ann and Joyce. So I'm going to pick a line on my ruler and align it with the fold of the fabric and this 24-inch mark here. So this line at 11 is on my fold, and then this one, the side of the ruler, is at the 24 all the way up, and then I just cut it, and I've got my 20 by 24 that we need to play with, and I still have some more fabric for another project. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to walk this over to my serger. I'm not too worried about the selvaged edge, but I want to serge all these others, because as we are manipulating and embroidering and stuff, the cut edges could start to fray. So give me just a minute and I will be right back. I got to uncover the serger, of course. Oh, shush, Cole. Cole the Menace wants in. Come on. Sounds like something fell. Alrighty. So let me serge this edge and I'll be right back. If you don't have a serger, which a lot of people won't have one, you can just zigzag on your edge, just right along the edge. You can just zigzag. If you go close enough so that like when it's zigzagging, one side of the stitch is just off the fabric and one is in the fabric, and go back and forth. Do a nice wide zigzag. The widest it'll go, and you'll be able to see it better. And that'll keep it from fraying too. So you don't necessarily have to have a serger. So now we've got our 20 by 24 that we can play with. Now, let me look at this again. Yeah, I think this is the right side of it. And this is a fairly big piece of fabric here. And I might pull my flowers back now that I've got the exact size, because I can place them just to give me an idea. So I'm just going to grab the handmade flowers out. And I also have 2 more flowers that are coming, so I have to kind of keep that in mind too. And I'm thinking the stems won't go all straight up. Flower stems aren't completely straight. So I'm thinking I'll have arched stems for the flowers, so I could put a flower way up toward the top. I want to leave a half an inch to an inch away from the edge. Don't work all the way up to the edge, because we got to be able to sew a border on this later. I'm doing a wall hanging. That's why I'm saying that. I'm going to do a wall hanging with mine. So I'm going to leave about an inch away from the edge so that my sewing machine can get past the dimensional flowers. So maybe put that one there. And I was thinking, that just placing them to see how they fit, and spread the colors out a little bit. And then maybe have the smaller ones at the bottom on a nice droopy stem. That would be cute. You don't want these flowers to be like in a row like this. You don't want to do that. Nature abhors a straight line. You're not going to see flowers growing in a completely straight line. Oh, you received another flower. Awesome. So keep that in mind. Nature doesn't like straight lines. That's a human thing. So put your flowers down, spread them out, see how they're going to do. And like I said, some may be on arched stems that come out of nowhere and just bloop down. Maybe put these 2 over here, kind of at an angle. And then I can put a flower here, maybe one down here. So this just gives me a visual, and I'm going to snap a picture of what I've got here just so I can look at it later. And these can move. This is not set in stone. This is just to give me a visual representation of where they are. Let's just pop a picture here. There we go. So see, I've got this. So now if I open this and I manipulate it into a grayscale, I can tell, I need to move things, because you want to kind of pull the color around. And I'm already, even with it in color, I don't want the 2 pink ones right next to each other like that, because I want it to have a lot of varying interest. And so you can manipulate your flowers, and if you wanted, you could take another picture. But I think taking a picture every once in a while as you're working really helps the visualization come together. And then let's see, what do we got here? So I was watching Marion, and she did some different embroidery stitches yesterday on her stems and things. It looked really interesting. That's why I want to share that video with you guys. So because I'm going to need longer stems. So what I might just focus on today is just getting some grass on here. And I was thinking I would just cut things to look like blades of grass out of my fabrics. Like this was from Janet Nash. This one, I think before I cut it to use, this has got mushrooms on it and everything, but I'm still going to use it as stems for grass. I'm going to put some iron-on fusible interfacing on the back of that just to make it more stable. So I'm not going to cut this one today until I can stabilize it a little bit more. This cotton here, I might just do like Marion and just draw a couple leaves and embroider them and then put the fusible stuff on the back and then cut them out. So what I'm going to do on these is I'm just going to draw some leaves. And she just used a regular pencil to draw on there, because you want to draw it so you can see it. I do have chalk pencils as well somewhere. I think on this really dark, I mean, I could use my chalk pencil and sketch some blades of grass. Or I can just cut them out with a pair of scissors and we'll pin them in place. So maybe I'll make a line along the bottom to represent the ground with a ruler and my chalk pencil. So I'm going to eyeball. It doesn't have to be perfectly straight because nature hates straight lines. And I'm just going to put me a line here. Is this pencil even marking it? Yeah, sort of. It's giving me a faint line there. I just want to give myself a line to work from as my base. And this will give me room on the bottom if I wanted to. That's not very straight, but that's okay. I could embroider our friendship flower swap or something along the bottom and maybe put the date, and I could maybe even embroider everybody's names. All right, so I brought these scissors over, and I'm just thinking I'll get rid of the pinking on the bottom. All right, so see, I'm just cutting like pieces like this that look like blades of grass, and we can just stick that down, and then we'll just stitch over it in any method that you want. So I thought we would just maybe play with the grass line today and get them pinned down, and then we can work on our embroidering our grass down. I keep saying glass. Now, if you put the fusible web on the back of these, you could iron them in place. But I was thinking I'd just put a pin in. And then use some embroidery floss to stitch it down in some way, either, you know, that I find appealing. So the grass pieces, I think I will just stitch straight through on this. And then when I do like leaves for the flowers, I think I'm going to copy Marion. do want to just get these stitched down. And you could stitch these down on your sewing machine if you don't want to do a bunch of hand sewing. You could just stitch straight up the middle with your sewing machine. Just eyeball the center of that blade of grass and put it on there. This is just going to be an art piece. It's not going to be one that you're going to wash all the time. At least I'm not. I'm not planning to. But we'll pin on some of these grass pieces. I'm getting a few pieces. And you decide, you know, how small is too small for you to stitch on. Seems like my blades of grass all want to arch to the left, but that's okay. That one's got a little piece of cat hair with it. So this would be so much easier if you did, let's see. The only thing I can do is maybe pull it up like that. I have no controls over the camera. That's about as good as it's going to get, Joyce, I think. Does that help? So I'm not going to put a ton of stuff down here. I just want to kind of put a row of grass that denotes my line that I drew here. This will just give me a visual. And I'm going to stitch this dark colored grass down. Okay. So I kind of, there's just a faint white line. You can see it. I can see it on the camera. And stick this one in there. And I'm using this dark fabric because this grass will be in the background. So I'm just going to put this grass down here. You guys have to make yours your own too. Don't be afraid to do that. I might get some embroidery floss and just stitch this down real quick with some running stitches, because this grass is gonna be in the background, so you won't necessarily see much of it at the end, but it'll be there for depth. I'll stitch a few down, and we'll just focus on creating a grassy thing at the bottom for today. And the grass doesn't grow straight up and down. You want it to go in different angles and stuff. I'm running out of this. I have more, but stick that piece over there. I think we're doing pretty good as far as getting some grass pieces on here. That one's a little chunky at the bottom, but I'm not worried about it. So however you want to stitch your grasses down, I'm thinking just a simple running stitch on these because they're just blades of grass. So let me grab a needle. And is Tracy here? Good morning. And again, if you don't want to do this, you could just cut a flower vase out of fabric and stitch it down, and then just put the fronds of grass or what stems of the flowers coming up out, and then put your flowers on. If you don't want to do like a flower garden situation like I'm doing. Just throwing out ideas. I thought I heard something fall, Tippy. I thought I heard something fall. Okay, this is just some random threads. I'll just grab anchor threads. I want to get a floss box that's for the anchor threads, but I haven't done it yet. Well, there's the embroidery. All right, let's get an embroidery needle. Hi, Karen. Yeah, I had a shadow box, but it's not big enough. So I'm going with a wall hanging, and we're going to do a fancy border around it and make it into like a mini quilt to hang on the wall. But right now I'm just going to focus on creating this centerpiece. So this may take us a little bit of time. So this is dark. So I'm going to go just maybe about the same, close to shade here. Now there is a way to pull this floss out without messing up the whole skein. Do I know it? No. And I don't want to lose my numbers. So I want to leave it in the labels. Oh, let's see here. Nope, that's not it. I'm making a mess. There is a way to do that where you just pull it and get a length. And I think I'm only going to use 2 strands of floss. That's way too much floss, but so I'm going to flick the end here. Cole, stop it. And pull one of your threads out at a time. This is way too long. And then we'll pull out one more strand, and then you put them back together. If you try to pull more than one strand at a time, you'll end up with a knotty mess. I'm trying to avoid that. And I've got way too much thread, so find end to end here. Put those 2 back together and then pull them back together. And as I said, that's way too much thread. We're doing a wall hanging with our swapped flowers. And I'm just going to work on the background because I'm still waiting on 2 of the flowers. They should be here this week. All right, so I'm going to move everybody's flowers again. I might put them back in the container so that the cats don't start playing and mess me up. Do you want to go back out on the porch? I can't leave the door open. The mosquitoes are coming in. Why don't you go back out on the porch, honey? I know Cole is growling at you. There you go. Have some porch time. Good for you. I put them out there without making sure Scott had latched the door. That's not good. All right. That cat's dealt with. Now I'm going to get you out here. You let the kids know they need to get up. All right. We'll move these off, and I'm just going to stitch these stems on, and then I might use those other 2 pieces and just put a few lighter pieces of grass down. And I'm not putting it in a hoop, but I am pulling you guys everywhere. I'm going to start at the tip of this grass. Probably should start at the bottom, but ouch. Okay, that should hold that now. I'm going to pull this pin out and put it back in the hedgehog. So basically we're creating our background right now. And I like to do a running stitch like that instead of pulling it to the back and then back up. So go down, and then tilt your fabric and come back up. The up and down, my stitches don't stay straight very long that way. If you want to attach your grass with a different stitch, it's your piece. You do you. I'm not aiming for a beautifully embroidered piece. I'm more folks arty, where you can see the rough edges. All right, so that one's stitched down. That didn't take too long. And I'm just going to come under a stitch at the back and wrap it a couple times and pull it through, and it's knotted. It won't come undone. I don't know what happened here. That's not good. Well, we're going to fake it till we make it. I'm going to go ahead and tie the beginning and the end into a loose knot and clip both tails. I guess I didn't pull it all the way taut. I know the mistake is there, but I could probably, well, no, I've already knotted it. If only I had noticed that beforehand. I'm not going to fret about it though. I just want to knot those two so that I can cut the tails away. Except my fingers aren't working this morning. Maybe I haven't been awake long enough to do something fiddly. Fiddly. Yeah, I know I made a mistake. It's okay. Mistakes happen. I just got to make sure my knot is up against the fabric next time. That's all. And it doesn't affect how it is on the front at all. Hi, Safia. We waited a year for this. We follow. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, don't you hate that? You're so close and then you run out of ink. So I would say during stitch hour today, I will be working on this piece. Just putting some grass. I will get some fabric out of my stash in grass colors that are, longer, so I can do some real tall grass pieces, or just throw in a bunch of stems and embroider some flowers. You could do that too. Basically, I'm just thinking up a messy background that looks like let me check that. Yeah. A field, different heights of grass. That's what I'm aiming for. If I wanted a blue sky, I would have to sew the blue down onto my green piece. Do I want a blue sky? That's something to think about. Up toward the top of the piece, do I want to sew a blue strip down? I don't think I do. Now, if you wanted the stitching to show, use a lighter thread even. I kind of like that this is kind of blending out. I think this is going to be a very time-consuming project. Stitch all this stuff down. It looks so much different than what's in front of me, Safia. It's more grass green. What's on the screen looks almost tealish, like it's got a lot more blue in it, and it's really, really green, like really grassy green. Oh, the planes are starting to take off for the day, headed to Charlotte. And yeah, it looks teal, but it really isn't. It's like the green you see on pool tables is the color. It's really, really green. I don't know if very many people saw the picture of the Anagama kiln firing that my sister worked this weekend. She said she got home at 6 a.m. and she's going to be tired for the rest of the week because it's a wood-fired kiln and it's a walk-in. So somebody has to man it overnight to keep stoking the fire and adding wood and checking the cone status, and everybody takes a turn during the whole process. And they clean up as they unload the kiln. They clean the kiln shelves and all of that. It's quite the endeavor. She loves to do it. She said, unfortunately, a lot of her pieces this time were going to be test pieces because the company she used to get her clay from in North Carolina was completely washed away in Hurricane Helene, and they've just decided they can't come back from it at all. They tried, they just can't do it financially, emotionally, they just can't. So she's having to order her clay that's a lot more expensive because it's coming from Colorado and Arizona. So, but her test pieces were going through the kiln this weekend. And that's what she was sad about, because she wasn't able to do anything, really cool, like a really cool animal aquamanil. Aquamanils are decanters, Roman period decanters that are shaped like animals. And she loves to do those. She made me a cookie jar one year of a kitty cat. I have it in the kitchen. I love him. He's kind of goofy. If I can remember, I'll go get him in a little bit and show you guys my cat decanter. You take his head off to put stuff in his belly. Oh, let's see. Yes, Anne has a beautiful piece of green felt that'll be great. This is a piece of wool that I thrifted when we went on our anniversary trip. Oh, it's getting warm in here. I might have to go turn the air down, put the fan on. Y'all won't mind if I do that because it's warm under all these lights. Hang on, I'll be right back. So see, I'm just doing a running stitch, and it's not even a straight stitch. It's all kind of wibble wobbly, but it's holding those pieces down, and that's what I'm focusing on. Hit the fan here. You want to come in, Howard? Do you want to come in, or you're fine? Okay. He was sitting there looking up at me, and I was like, well, maybe he wants to come in. Let's see if I can get this worked back in my hand. I don't know if you guys are able to see anything or not. Oh, no, that's not that way. This way. And then I'm going down. to the back and then tilt it and come back up. That's how I do the running stitch. It's Mama Juju here. Hey! So I was talking about Robin's clay situation. So she's had to go up on her prices because she's having to get that expensive clay from Colorado. I wish there was another place in South Carolina, North Carolina, or Georgia that did clay. But I can understand that company being totally frustrated up in North Carolina. I mean, basically, they got washed away in Helene. So that was devastating for them. That's why I don't understand the cuts to FEMA. It's just ridiculous. Just ridiculous. People don't understand the importance of that organization until they need it. Uh-oh. I'm doing good. Hot, but doing good. And after I sign off here, I need to go out and mow my lawn because it's looking like we're going to get rain on and off all week. And I got to try to stay ahead of the grass growing outside, which is hard when it's raining every blooming day. Well, I just keep moving my tail up my thread, and I haven't, knock on wood, I haven't gotten caught up in it, except for that very first blade of grass where I didn't make sure my knot was pulled all the way to the fabric. You might want to just embroider some grass looking stuff with maybe some curly cues in it. That's why I love to watch. Oh, that pulled right through the wool. Well, let's see. Can I hide that knot? And we'll just go back through the fabric. That was strange. Let's see if I can come back down. And I'm just going to leave my knot right where it's decided it wants to live on top of the fabric. It'll be added texture. There we go. Now I have to keep maneuvering this to get it to where I can actually do the stitching. And I'm not going to worry about that knot being on the upper side at all. I'll pull this pin out, put it back in Mr. Hedgehog. No, I didn't serge the edge that's the selvage because that's not going to fray. This isn't going to pull away and fray because this is where all the strings were tied at the factory. So I didn't serge the selvage edge. I only serged the edges that I cut where it would come apart and fray. I didn't want to end up with a bunch of frayed pieces on my edging. They call this a running stitch because you're supposed to be able to go in and out and in and out with your finger, with your needle, and then pull it, and it just runs through the fabric. That's what my grandmother told me. This is a running stitch. I might look for some red and beige fabric and maybe put a couple mushrooms on mine here and there. But today I thought we'd focus on grass pieces. And the reason I'm in close is I'm stitching, and I thought you'd want to see that. That just ties a little knot. So you just, this week we'll focus on getting the grass down here. And then next week, I'm going to focus on some longer pieces of grass. I'm just going to do a little bit of the shorter stuff here and then do some longer pieces. I might go look and see if I can grab a piece of green out of my quilt fabric under the bed. You like the idea of the mushrooms? Or you could also, if you've got a book on flowers, or if you just look up pictures of grasses online, you get you some more ideas of what you'd like with your flowers. I mean, they're your flowers, so you could decide what you want to feature. If you don't want to do a bunch of grasses, you could do weeds. I don't know. You can add to it. Get as colorful as you want, because man, our flowers are nice and colorful. So the background should match the flowers. If you want some of your grass to be bright pink, go for it. Now, if you wanted to do a piece like this and put it maybe on the front of a tote bag or a pillow, you could do that as well. I wouldn't make a pillow out of what I'm doing, because the cats would lay on it and I wouldn't be able to wash it, because I'm doing this more as an art piece than a functional, can be thrown in the wash constantly. Now, when you watch Marion's videos, she's doing it, excuse me, very thoroughly, because she does plan to have to wash her coat. But what she's doing on that coat, every time she does something more on it, I just sit here and drool, because that is the most stunning thing. And the fact that it's completely hand sewn, even the coat. She hand sewed the coat. Amazes me. I think hand sewing to me leads to reflection. So you can sit here stitching, and if you're just quiet while you're stitching, thoughts just come to you. And sometimes they're quite random and unusual. You just never know. Sometimes conversations I had with my grandmother as a teen pop into my head. Or things like the fact that when she'd make oatmeal, she would make oatmeal for her and I and the dogs. The dogs all had a bowl of oatmeal under the table. And then I had a little chihuahua. Her name was Lucy, like Lucille Ball. And she loved her oatmeal. If we had beef stew, the dogs got beef stew. But Lucy, she did not like carrots. So when she got done, when we were done and we were cleaning up, you'd look at her bowl up under the table and you'd lift the bowl and there would be a ring of carrots on the floor. That's the kind of thing that comes to my mind when I'm sitting here on my own. So you see my grass is going down pretty nice there. And then you could come in with a different fabric. Like I've got this here. It's not as stable as this one, but I could cut some different shapes and stitch them down with a different stitch. Or I could do like Marion and create an applique with this and put the fusible web on and then fuse it down and then stitch it. But I think I'm just going to cut the same kind of strips from it. Maybe I'll do, let's see. I'll put some of these on here. And if you don't want that print to be as dominant, just flip your fabric over and it goes to the background. And we'll flip this over. You can see as you add the different colors, you get more depth in your piece. And crisscross your grass, because the grass grows in all different directions. Good morning, Gregor. Did you guys have fun?
Yeah, called off work.
Oh.
Too tired.
Ah. And see what I mean about you'll get different looks. And I'm going to use just the same thread since I've pulled so much off from it. And this piece here will add even more dimension to it. Because this has some brown in it. And I'm cutting them a little fatter. So it's more like a broad leaf there. Morning, Heather. Well, I don't like how that top on that one is, so I'm just going to cut it off. That one I might have cut up too much to use for anything else. But you can see how it's looking like it's coming alive now. Nope, don't like that one there. Don't be afraid to make adjustments either. You know, cut it if you don't like the shape of it. So if we put those down now, this just gets us started with a line. And you can always, you know, start like this, and then we'll add some taller grass, and then we'll come back after we get everything done and put some more of these shorter pieces toward the top of your piece. Then it'll look like there's some depth there, like the grass keeps growing behind the plants. You don't have just the plants with nothing behind them. That's probably clear as mud too. You like the contrast? Yeah. And I have a bunch of other greens in my stash. So look through your scraps and pull out your greens and work on grass and stuff. You might want some embroidered stems with maybe some weird looking flowers embroidered down in your background. You could do a stem, and I could take some of these little pink ones, like do the stem and then have it where these are on either side of that stem, and just do like, what are they called? 4 o'clocks or digitalis, but utilize your purchased flowers from the dollar store. Like put them on either side, but maybe put one there, and then have one at the top of it and one there. You know what I'm saying? And the stem would come down in between them with little stems coming out to attach to the flowers at the top of a stalk. There's just so many ways you can play with these fake flowers to just fill in your background. I am really sorry about my throat. I don't know why it's doing that. I am so enjoying having the added workspace over here. Let's do this one this way instead. Whoops. I'm just going to focus on this little corner with you guys this morning. And then after I sign off, I'll just go on across, doing the same thing. I have more of these fabrics about somewhere. Oh, I love 4 o'clocks too, because I had them at our first house just outside the back door. And there was those moths that would come. They had that tongue that's real curly. They love 4 o'clocks. I can't remember what those moths were called, but they're big, great big moths with these curling tongues that go. Oh, honey moth? I can't remember now. All right, I'm going to move this so I can get in here. And remember, I want to stay about an inch away from my edge. I don't want to work right up to the edge because you want to be able to sew a border on and have a little space between your design and the edge too. So the good news is the bathroom is ready for a plumber to come and reinstall the commode and put all the faucets in place and the shower head in place. And then I will be soaking in a bubble bath for about 3 hours because it's been nearly 3 years. Poor Scott. He apologized to me yesterday. I'm sorry, I'm so slow. I was like, well, I'm patient, so we're a good match. This thread you're seeing is where I messed up on that first blade of grass. For anybody that's just come in and are like, what on earth is she doing back there? I flubbed up. It's okay. Yeah, I know. The only thing is we don't have the tools for that PEX stuff, and it would cost almost as much to go buy the tools to do this one bathroom than to just pay the plumber. And yeah, and we also need the outdoor spigot in the back here. We need it replaced. It's just shot. It's basically fallen apart. And Scott's put a temporary solution in place about 15 years ago. And I said, if we're going to have the plumber out, we'll just have him do it all while he's here. Plumbing and roofing are 2 jobs. Scott's decided it's worth paying the man. Just pay the man, get him out. And so when he gets his teaching pay, we'll be getting that plumber out. And I'm going to get paid this month by YouTube so I can get the dog to the groomer and get her hair cut and get her a bath when that hits. In fact, I should probably check on that. Oh, I need to check on one thing real quick because I don't want to miss an appointment this week, and I don't know if it's today. So hang on. Oh, never mind. It's not this month. How's that, Ann? I messed up. I thought that mammogram was this month. It's not till August. Woohoo! I don't have to worry about that this week. I do have to go by the dentist office though and pay a balance I have. I paid $40, but apparently the insurance didn't cover as much. So I still owe them another $25. So I got to go and do that this morning. I got to mow the lawn and I got to be back and cleaned up and ready for a stitch hour at 2. Oh, I like using this same color floss to put down all of my grass. I'm not sure where I got all that Anchor floss. Probably thrifting. Somebody probably bought it and then somebody said, oh, you can't use that. You have to use DMC. There are charts out there that convert DMC to Anchor numbers and vice versa. So you can still use what you have. That's what I say. Don't be focused on you have to use this product or that product. I use what I have, and I'm off camera again. Sorry. But see, I like that, and now it'll really show up on this piece. We did a roof. We did the roof on our little shed, and Scott said, that's it. That's the last one. But when we first moved in here, we were much younger because that was in 1996. So we were still in our 30s. We did the roof on the garage, and Scott tore his meniscus doing it. And we got so sunburned. We're like, no, this is for the folks that know you have to wear long pants and long sleeve shirts, even when it's like hotter than you know what, to get up on a roof. This is not for us. Our bodies weren't made for this. Period. So the lessons you learn by trying to do the things yourself. We could have probably done the floor repairs ourselves, but I wasn't prepared to wait 20 years for it to get done. That's just saying. I'll be so glad when we get it all fixed, the new vinyl in the kitchen and that kind of thing. All I'm going to say is I'm thrilled about the bathroom. And when he gets a break in teaching, we'll finish that last third of the front room. And then I need to order some rugs to put down under the table and our recliners and that kind of stuff. And I need them to be like 10-foot by 12-foot rugs. I need 2 of them, one for each area, the dining room and the living room. So anybody have any suggestions? I've been seeing these rugs that they say are washable. Has anybody used those washable rugs that you supposedly can throw in your washing machine? There's one I really, really like it looks very natural. It's got all these trees and flowers and stuff. I want to use that in the dining room because I have my flower of the month prints in the dining room. Remember, I thrifted all those hand-drawn flowers. I can't remember the artist. One of y'all looked it up for me. Yeah. I can't remember that company now. I saved that one rug. I was going to show it to Scott this weekend, but I don't know what happened with this weekend. We just kind of piddled around. We did go thrifting on Saturday. We went and visited his mom yesterday. The weekend kind of just went, and I don't remember it anymore. Lunch is ready. Okay. See you later. What time is it? It's after 7 already. We're doing pretty good to get this much done in what, 30 minutes? Not bad. I kind of like using the same color floss, but if you want to switch your floss cover, you go for it. What would be really pretty is if I had a green variegated floss to stitch this grass down to where it would change as I stitched along. That could be pretty. I don't think I'll get far with this, but let's see. I will say, if you go watch Marion's, she does make her flowers look like the actual flowers. Like yesterday, she was working on a primrose. Oh my gosh, it was stunning. And she told you the difference between the flowers, and the flowers are always 50-50 of one type and another. And I was just sitting here drooling. I just drool. I was like, I want to be like Marion when I grow up. And she has a gardening channel too, Marion's Garden, I think is what it's called. She's redoing her garden after years of recovering the loss of her husband. She's getting back out in her garden and just making it come alive in a whole new way. Yeah, the pearl cotton would be beautiful on your grasses and things to embroider. I thought about grabbing some, but then I thought, I've got all this anchor. I'll just use what I grabbed the first time. Wasn't sure I'd get to the end of this stalk with this little teeny piece of floss, but maybe I will. Greg told me he called off today because he's too tired to go to work. I'm like, do you know how many times I went to work exhausted? This generation's something else. Don't get it. Another one of my classmates posted it was their 40th wedding anniversary yesterday. And I said, well, 1985 was a really good year to get married, apparently, because we're all still married. The ones that got married in 1985. So all that great big long piece, I got all of these pieces of grass. So this is what I've got going. And like I said, I need to go shop my stash. This will get you guys started too. And again, if you want to just cut out a vase shape, like a bulbous bottomed vase, like a ginger jar shape, or whatever shape you want, just make sure it's got a wide enough top to accommodate all your flowers. And I'd put it about an inch and a quarter from that whatever bottom edge you have, so that you have plenty of room for the flowers and stuff at the top. If you want to do that, you could also get you like a pizza pan or a plate and set it down and trace around it so you have a circle, and you could create a wreath on there, and then maybe put something in the middle, embroider your name or whatever in the center of your circle, or just leave it like a floral wreath with things, squiggly little grassy fronds and things. that type of thing. But this will get us started. And then next week, I'll show up and I'm going to have my grasses stitched on here, I think. And I'll cut some, the same kind of shapes, but make them longer and maybe come up to about 2/3 on here. Maybe up 2/3. Let's see what that looks like. This is just a scrap. I'm not using this. But if we started some blades and they came up into here, you know what I'm saying? Just to carry it up, and then the flowers would be about at that level and down below here. So it's just something to play with. And visually, you can do that layer. And if it's not quite tall enough, you can do another, few that go up a little bit higher. And again, if you variate the tones and colors of the grass, it'll give you a lot more dimension. I'm going to have to go because I'm losing my throat. Oh, and there's Diane, right? And I'm signing off. Won't be long and I can get out there and mow. So I hope this will get you guys started. And for those that just popped in, feel free to go back to the beginning and you'll see what we've got going on. And again, my piece is 20 inches by 24 inches, and I've serged the cut edges. If you don't have a serger, you can zigzag. And I don't even mind that my line is kind of, but that's okay. I've still got room here that I could embroider what this is, our flower swap from 2025, and go from there. All right. So I will see some of you in stitch time at 2:00. If anybody ever wants to join us in the Facebook chat that I have set up, you just need to find me on Facebook, and we'll get you in there. All right. Thank you guys for watching and being here and giving thumbs up. It's awesome as always. And I appreciate y'all. There's Ruth. Hey, Ruth. And I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.